also like to welcome you today. I hope everybody got a chance to see the campus, the Atrium campus here today in our headquarters. I don't know if you toured it or not, but you should tour it. I think it's pretty much now known as one of the better facilities in MLS. So take some time. We'll give you a tour if you haven't done it already. Today we're here to introduce new head coach Dean Smith. Dean comes to us from English football, where he managed for more than a decade. From League One, the biggest soccer league in the world. He highlighted his tenure in England by bringing two of his teams, Walsall, hopefully I pronounced that right to people, I don't know, it's a hard one for me to pronounce, and Aston Villa to cup finals. Dean is known for getting the most from his players and teams. As an aside, when Dean came to the game yesterday, the Panthers won. So that could use kind of a little bit of karma was working already. Dean, as I said, Dean is known for getting the most from his players and teams. We feel that he's the right man to help lead us to the MLS Cup in the U.S. I'm very excited to introduce you to the new head coach of CLTFC, Dean Smith.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. We'll start the press conference portion of the program today. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand. We will get to you. Also, if you're on Zoom, if you have a question, please raise your hand in the Zoom function, and we will call you guys on Zoom as well. But first, we'll start off with opening statements. First from head coach Dean.
Thank you everybody for the welcome. I've pretty much been taken aback by the warmth of the welcome I've had since I've come to Charlotte FC. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity and the challenge that it's going to be. We want to have a successful and consistent culture at this football club, and I'm hopeful that we can bring that. I've been coming to the Carolinas for the last 6 years. My son studied here for 4 years, first at Limestone, then at NC State. Also played soccer for Asheville and now at Greenville. So I've got to know the Carolinas pretty well, and really enjoyed the warmth, hospitality, but also the community side and their love for soccer. And I'm really looking forward to this opportunity now and moving forward. Thank you also to Mr. and Mrs. Tepper for giving me the opportunity to come here as well.
Next up, Zoran Pineda, our sporting director.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. So many of you are great, looking very good. We are super excited to have a Dean in the house. It wasn't easy. It was a very collaborative, very long process. Took some time. But we are extremely happy to have a Dean, to land the coach of his caliber, to come to take us to the next stage, to the next level, where this club should be, as Mr. Tepper said, and Joe, we are not happy to be a playoff team, just a playoff team. We want to be a winning team. We want to be the team that hosts the MLS Cup one day in Carolina, in Charlotte. So I think Dean is the right person, right personality, right leader to take us forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Now we'll open up the questions again. If you do have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get to you. We'll start off with Will Flasher.
Hi, Dean. Will Flasher from Charlotte Radio. Welcome to Charlotte. What was it about this project and MLS in particular that led you to want to pursue this project?
I think the club is in its infancy. It's only 2 years old in terms of playing, but it's got real ambition, and it fits my ambition. And that was the biggest thing for me, that I wanted somewhere where I'm going to be challenged. I want to be pushed all the time. So this was a challenge that I really looked at, that I thought was exciting for me. And when you're excited, I think you get great things from people, and hopefully we can go and get great things. And the MLS for me is a league that's growing, and it can be taken lightly at your peril. I've seen enough games over the last 5-6 years to know that it's tough, but we can make a real impact, and that's what we hope to do with the squad and the roster we've got here.
I'd like to follow up in terms of your experiences. What can you draw upon from an experience standpoint that you feel like will help you with this
In terms of coaching, I've been through everything, from taking over from a good friend of mine at my first club, Walsall, who was 7 points from relegation and keeping them up that year, working on shoestring budgets, to going to the club that I followed as a child, Aston Villa, and getting them promoted to the Premier League, keeping them there, having a winning record. So the experiences that I've had, both at the lower level and the top level, and working with players, and that's the biggest thing. The players are the ones who go and perform, every week on the football pitch, and we need to make them the best decision makers we can. Thank you very much.
How did this come about? Who approached you?
Well, I actually came to a game 18 months ago. As I said earlier, we've been on plenty of vacations over here to visit my son, and we've got acquaintances, myself and Zoran, who knew each other, and I got invited to a game against Red Bull and really enjoyed the game. Charlotte were winners on the day, 2-0, and it was a great atmosphere. You could tell it was a community-driven club, with the supporters, and I think that warmth and that feel never left me. So to answer your question, when the role came up, I was approached to see if I would be interested in the role, and I then done my due diligence and just spoke to my family, as I always do, and we felt that this could be a really good opportunity.
Steve?
There were a lot of openings in MLS this year. Previous years, we had been called from here on out over in Europe as well. Who did you go to when this opportunity came up and others? Who did you go to first place to help evaluate? What did you know?
There's lots of different places that you go for advice. I've got lots of friends who have been out here coaching and playing. Obviously, I've got family out here as well. So to find out about different cultures in the different states, that was important for me to know. But the biggest advice is always the family. They're the most important people. I had to take their advice when I took the Aston Villa job, because that would change our lives, being our home city. And this is another big change for the family, but it's one that we've all embraced so far, and looking forward to being over here. So I've got a lot of football colleagues that I speak to. I'm still in touch with all the owners I've worked under before, and I reached out to one of the Aston Villa owners as well to speak to him. So I think there's many people that I've reached out to get a good opinion whether it was the right thing. But I just felt in my stomach straight away that it was the right thing.
Arturo?
To answer the first question, no, because they're all the way at the moment. Obviously, their season finished, and they're during the close season. I don't know Ashley Westwood, but I've reached out to him because my teams have played against him, just to get a feel from him about the roster and the league. And he spoke very highly of both Charlotte FC as a club, but also Charlotte as somewhere to live as well. But also, he pointed out how tough the MLS was as well. So, but I've watched 5 or 6 of the last 5 or 6 games, on video, on tape, and I've reached out and spoke to friends who I've got. An ex-teammate of mine is the assistant coach at Columbus, who've just won the MLS, Kwame Ampadu. So, I've reached out and spoken to Kwame as well. So it's been really good to get a feel of the place straight away and of the roster as well.
Eric?
Eric Stamber from Charlotte. I'm curious for both of you. Joe just said clinching the last spot in the last 8 seasons is not good enough. Or you say obviously, but for 2024, what does that mean for LPX?
me, first and foremost, I think that set a bar already. So my job is to develop players. If I develop players, then the team develops. And if the team develops, then we start winning football games, soccer games, and we get into the upper echelons of the regular season league. And that's what we need to do. You know, if I sat here and said I hadn't come to do anything but win the MLS Cup, I shouldn't have been hired. Because the role is for anybody is to be as ambitious as possible, and my ambitions are to bring the MLS trophy here, whether that be next year, the year after. But that's my ambitions, and you know, the players will know that as soon as they get here.
Well, to be honest, I already said, and our ambition is to be much higher than we were this season. It's easy to hide behind the ninth spot playoffs first time and say, okay, job well done. We didn't feel like that. We felt the job was not done well, that we felt we lost too many points. We felt the team was much better than the league place was at the end of the season. We came all here to kind of bring medals, win titles, play in a Champions League, maybe one day in a World Cup. The Club World Cup is coming to America 2025. So I think when we look at the end of the season and done the review of the season, we just felt we came short of our expectations are, what the ownership expectations are. All of us, really. It wasn't like the owners want one thing, we want different. We want the same thing, and we just felt we need to go and make a next move and make the next step. And this is why we went and find Dean Smith.
Jorge?
Charlotte has talked about what Charlotte has talked about what
First and foremost, it's to come in and assess the squad first, and you know, see how adaptable they are in terms of playing style. You know, I can sit here and say my playing philosophy is the same as Pep Guardiola's or Jurgen Klopp's, but we haven't got them. We haven't got their players. So my playing style has always been, if we lose the ball, win the ball back quickly and go and score as quickly as we can. And if we can't, then we retain possession and find different ways to scoring. And that will continue through all the clubs, because the game doesn't change in that sense. You've either got the ball or you haven't got the ball. And I want my teams to have control with and without the ball. But we want to excite fans, and attacking football excites fans. So that's what we want to try and do here.
what stood out about you as maybe the star power
First of all, I wouldn't like to kind of comment on any other candidates. We've done a comprehensive, long process. It took about 3-4 weeks, where we interviewed a number of candidates. And to be honest, Dean stood up from the very first moment. You have to go through the process, and you have to come up to the final line of that process. And you know, experience, number one, leadership, number two. I mean, not necessarily in that order. I'm just mentioning ability to make the players better. And I think it's his desire to come here. That's very important. He wants to be here. He wanted to kind of actually takes us to the next level.
Sam?
Welcome to Charlotte. Sam Spencer with Queens here. I wanted to talk to you about squeaky bum time. So after your promotion final at your press conference, you talked about how the last 50 minutes of the game against Derby was the longest. For Charlotte FC fans and for Charlotte FC watchers, the last 15 minutes of every match last year was the longest 15 minutes of our lives, because, as Zoran mentioned, we dropped points in the final minutes. How do you think that your experience in clutch time can help lead this team and keep us from dropping those points and keep us higher up in the game?
I think one of the big things, one of my biggest strengths is my emotional control. I tend not to get too high, not to get too low. And I can tell a story before that playoff final where I was with John Terry, who was my assistant at the time, and we'd been for the run round Wembley Stadium, before the game, during the morning of the game, and then we sat having a coffee, outside the stadium. And John Terry, who'd won the Premier League so many times, the FA Cup, the Champions League, said, "How are you so calm?" And probably the way my brain works, well, we've played Derby County twice already this season. We beat them 3-0 away, we beat them 4-0 at home. We're playing on a neutral pitch here. And if we played them on a neutral pitch 100 times, in my head, we'd probably beat them 94 times. So, for me, we were favourites to win that. And as long as our players performed and were calm as well, we would go and win that game. But things happen in soccer where things can change. You bounce to the ball, an official's decision. And it's important that you remain calm in them situations and make calm decisions. And I think my experience has taught me to do that.
And to follow up on something you said, you said we don't have any of Pep Guardiola's players. Of course, you once had one of his first players, and so I wanted to ask, how do you develop or find a generational talent like Jack Grealish?
I don't think you find them. I think you land on them. I can only talk from my time at the EPL. The Wayne Rooney's, the Jack Grealishes, the Jude Bellinghams, they're coming through at any academy because they're that good. I think what coaches need to be judged on are the ones that probably aren't seen so much to come through, and you manage to get them through. I think they're the biggest pluses for you because them elite players, they come through anyway. Thank you.
Deschamps?
Morning. I've always wanted to challenge myself by not being in the UK. I know the UK. I've been there professionally for 36 years, and I've always wanted to go and challenge myself. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that. The ambitions of the club, from the ownership all the way down to the supporters, is massive. And it doesn't matter that the club is in its infancy. We still want to be ambitious and we still want to be successful. So, for me, it was a great fit, really. Thank you.
Scott?
Thank you. No, not at all. I mean, anybody who puts Google in and puts Dean Smith will probably find a UNC coach. So, yeah, I've done that many a time. It's funny in the UK, the FA have a model, a four-corner model, technical, tactical, physical and mental. So I became aware of Dean Smith from UNC's four-corner model. And I believe that if I'm half as successful as he has been during his career over in Charlotte, then I'll have done a good job.
Christian?
Thank you.
MLS is on the rise. Where do you see the league as a whole now compared to everywhere else?
Well, for one, it's got the world's best player who won a World Cup and lifted the World Cup last year. So that's not a bad start. But the MLS is rising. It's a good tactical, physical and technical battle. There's a lot of up-and-coming coaches here now. The standard is very, very good. I'm not going to compare it to any league really, because I think it's really, you actually can't. You can't really compare the EPL with the La Liga because they are so different culturally. But it's one that is challenging, and that's what I liked about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just curious, what
Well, promotion relegation doesn't really matter to me because I've always been driven from, a need to be the best I can be, and then push other players and people to be the best they can be. So I've always had an inner challenge, that's driven me. There's a lot of people out there who will always say or point out what you can't do, and my driver has always been to prove people wrong. You know, and people will say it's going to be really tough for a club that's only 2 years old to go and win the MLS, and already that's my driver. So, you know, to push myself and to push the roster to be the best that they can be is going to be really important for me.
We'll do a couple more in the room, and then we'll move Zoom. We'll go Carlos first.
Thank you, Carlos. To the Latino community, that for me, yeah, no, I've seen the passion in them, and as I said, when I came to that match against Red Bull, we walked in with the supporters, and we felt that warmth and that passion, and you know, for me, it doesn't matter what language we speak. If you're a good soccer player, then you're part of our roster, and our job is to treat everybody as equals and make sure that we have the best team that's going out there and performing each week. I didn't seek any assurances, but I can assure you it's a long way from my mind to think about getting fired before I get hired. So, you know, I mean, I just see an opportunity for us all to work together and improve. So, you know, I can never judge on what's gone before because I wasn't here and I wasn't living it. You know, I will be judged on what goes when I'm here and what we're living. And that's the way I work. Thank you.
In all your past positions, you've had teams that have had long-standing history. So it almost sounds great now coming with one that has such a small history.
Yes and no, really. I mean, you know, because of soccer in the UK, most clubs have a long history. You know, so probably my first club, Walsall, is 140 years old, but has never played in the top league. You know, so, but this is exciting. It's a challenge. You know, I'm really impressed with the facilities. For one, at the training facility, you know, I've had a good start already by, you know, being in attendance of Panthers winning yesterday. So it's a great start so far, but it's one really that we can go and create our history, and what's happened in a short space of time is a credit to everybody here.
We'll go Queen's first.
Well, this is called the auditorium, but from the first day I come in, it's going to be called the learning zone, because players don't just learn on the soccer pitch; they learn in here as well. You know, and I need to find out from the players. I'll ask a lot of questions because I want to know what they know, because that's the best way for me to help improve them. So for me, it's to get to know the players, get to know the roster in general, know what drives them, and help them become better versions of themselves as soccer players and as people. And I think if you do that, then the collective. I spoke, you know, when I first came about the togetherness. I think that's massively important. Once you get a culture that's together and you get momentum, very, very difficult to stop, and that's what we need to create here.
Okay.
Hey, Dean, welcome. I'm Danny Randall from the Charlotte Soccer Show. Did Ashley give you any golf tips?
He didn't actually. No, we never got to talk about golf.
How much have you learned about the fan culture, supporter culture here, and what's your message to our supporters, our hardcore supporters, about the match day atmosphere that we can bring to help the squad be more successful?
Well, I think from the numbers that we get into the stadium for the home games. You know, tells you its own story how much they support this football club, and our job is to make sure that we make every team that comes to play us at the Bank of America Stadium dislike it. You know, we want to make a siege mentality where it's us against them, and go and get as many points as we can. You know, make it a real tough place to come, but enjoyable certainly for supporters and ourselves.
All right, we've got time for a couple more. We'll get the Zoom right now. We'll start off with Charles Bowen. Yep, we got you.
Question for me? Or?
Yeah.
Well, look, it's a still building process. You know, we have some players that have left us. There might be some players that will be leaving. That's a part, parcel of the game. That's normal. We're going to improve. We need to improve. We know exactly the positions we need to improve in roster to give the deans the best tools and the best chance to succeed. To be honest, we have a very, very talented and ambitious Crown Legacy teams, you know, or if you like to call it B teams. So I think it's a great opportunity for our talents to succeed and exceed and present themselves as the players to the wider audience. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of field a very talented team and try to go as far as we can.
I think I can quite, in cricket terms in the UK, I can straight back that question because I haven't been involved in that process or been here long enough to have an opinion on that.
All right, thank you, Charles. We'll go to Nathan Edwards. Yeah, we got you.
I'm good, thank you. Really important. You know, I feel that, you know, every club I've been at has had communities and community projects that, you know, we're in a privileged position of either coaching soccer or playing soccer, and as much as we can do for the community is going to help bring that togetherness for the football club. So fully committed to helping the communities that I've worked for previously, and, you know, still in contact with a lot of them, obviously being close to my childhood home with Aston Villa and their community programme still. So I will certainly be encouraging the players, and I'm sure they are already, to the community adventures that we follow at this football club.
All right, we'll do two more. We'll start with Kenneth Lee on Zoom and then end with Amy. Kenneth, you there?
Again, that togetherness word that I keep using, that has to be for the whole football club. You know, Legacy and the academy have to see a pathway to getting through to the first team roster. I've done it at every club that I've been at. You know, I was watching Norwich. They played their local derby against Ipswich the weekend, and young Jonathan Rowe scored in that game, and he's one who I gave his debut to. Jacob Ramsey for Aston Villa played against Brentford yesterday for Aston Villa. He's another one who I brought through and gave his debut to. So my motto has always been, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So I have no qualms about age. If players are good enough, then they'll get through to play in my teams.
All right, last one here. To Amy.
Hi, pleasure. My name is Amelia. I'm from Charlotte. Welcome to Charlotte. And my question would be, so what are some of your long-term and short-term goals for football next year?
I think short-term goal is to meet the players, get to know them, assess them, and then see where we can move forward. You know, speaking with the front office as well, making sure that players that we're bringing in are better than what we've got. I think it's always got to be a gradual improvement, and we need to keep evolving as a team. It's evolution, not revolution. And as I've said before, long-term goal is, I think you'll always be judged by what you leave, and hopefully, you know, when I eventually leave this club, there's a legacy left behind, and that could be 2 years, 10 years, who knows? But I want to leave a legacy behind of consistency and success.